With over 60% of its population under the age of 25, Africa is by far the world's youngest continent. And based on current projections, by the year 2035, sub-Saharan Africa will have more people of working age than the rest of the world combined. And by the end of the century, almost half of the world's young people will be African. Now, while this growing army of willing and able young people is one of Africa's greatest assets, it could also turn out to be its greatest liability if serious action is not taken to ensure that every single one of these young people is properly educated and provided the opportunity to direct their youthful energies towards productive and fulfilling employment. For various reasons, however, access to quality education still remains a major problem across the continent, and African countries are consistently ranked among some of the toughest places to do business in the world. Excluding the agricultural sector, almost 90% of all jobs in sub-Saharan Africa are still provided by the many small-scale family-run businesses that make up the continent's informal economy. Quite clearly, this is simply not sustainable, especially when one considers the continent's impending population boom. If Africa is to rise to the challenge, there is no denying that it will need a new breed of visionary leaders that are fully committed to its social, political, and economic development. The kinds of leaders that will put the interests of the majority ahead of their own personal gain. Leaders that will invest in African industry rather than joining in the pillaging of its resources by collecting kickbacks from the multinational corporations that extract its raw materials. Leaders that will choose to invest in improving their local healthcare systems rather than simply flying themselves and their families abroad when they are in need of treatment. Leaders that will invest in improving their own educational institutions rather than just send their own children abroad to study while leaving the masses to suffer. Leaders that will invest in their local economies rather than amass portfolios of foreign properties and go on luxury holidays abroad. Most importantly, leaders that will care about how many lives they can change rather than how much money they can store in their Swiss bank accounts. This is Fred Swaniker, a Ghanaian entrepreneur that has dedicated his life to tackling Africa's biggest problem: bad leadership. His mission? To develop an army of 3 million transformational African leaders who will serve as catalysts for social change, entrepreneurship, and good governance across the continent. The deadline? The year 2035. Swaniker's obsession with seeing effective leadership on the continent stems from his own bitter taste of bad African leadership. At the tender age of 4, his family was forced to flee his native Ghana during the infamous 1979 military coup. Only 6 months later, his family went through the same ordeal in the Gambia, forcing another move all the way across to Zimbabwe, where he eventually completed his high school education. The difficult events of Swaniker's early life sparked in him a strong desire to see an Africa that is led by ethical, entrepreneurial, and progressive leaders. Turning his dream into reality, Swaniker began by launching the African Leadership Academy, a prep school that recruited bright high school students from all over Africa and prepared them for admission into some of the world's best universities. However, it wasn't long before Swaniker knew that he had to take things one step further. He realized that the ALA model was actually contributing to Africa's brain drain, as once his ALA graduates were admitted into top universities abroad, they rarely ever moved back to Africa. He decided that it was time for Africa to have its own elite university, capable of competing with the likes of Stanford, MIT, and Harvard. However, he decided early on that he was not just going to copy and paste the age-old traditional models of further education that had been passed down for centuries. Instead, he set out to develop a completely new educational model that was tailor-made for the African context. After several rounds of intense fundraising, Swaniker launched the African Leadership University, a Pan-African educational institution with campuses in Mauritius, Rwanda, and Kenya. Situated on the beautiful island of Mauritius, the ALU's main campus is a real sight to behold. But what really sets it apart is its revolutionary approach to teaching. The university's pure learning library is far from the silent temple of books and quiet study that you will find in most universities. Instead, it is a lively space where students gather to debate and share competing ideas on how to solve the big issues facing their communities, diagramming on whiteboards and providing live critiques on each other's perspectives. In many ways, the space is the perfect embodiment of the ALU's teaching philosophy, which holds that the best way to train the leaders that will tackle the continent's problems is by encouraging collaboration and the refinement of ideas through active debate. At the ALU, the focus is on solving real-world problems from day one. New students are presented with a list of challenges currently facing African countries, from climate change to healthcare reform, education, urban development, and population growth. For the rest of the year, they are then expected to research their chosen issue, discuss it with classmates, teachers, and specialists, and then present an informed solution at the end of the year. According to Swaniker, the idea is to create problem solvers who have learned how to learn, rather than simply memorize and regurgitate information. This means developing vital skills like critical thinking, leadership ability, communication skills, and data analysis. In addition to offering a range of unique degree majors in fields like entrepreneurship, global challenges, and electrical power systems engineering, ALU students are also encouraged to take on side missions. Last year, one team of students established and raised funding for a shelter for local street dogs, while another team developed a transport system linking their campus to the nearest city. Summer internships and work experience are compulsory at the ALU, and so upon graduation, virtually all graduates will have had at least 1 year's worth of work experience in an African country, giving them a taste of the real-world challenges they will eventually go on to face. In the run-up to graduation, ALU students are encouraged to not just limit their job search to their home countries, but to also look into the opportunities that are available in other African countries. The idea here is to get them thinking about continent-wide problems and not just local ones. Swaniker's vision is for ALU graduates to go on to become political and business leaders with the kind of Pan-African mindset that will help drive economic growth and boost trade and cooperation across the continent as a whole. In order to ensure that admission to the ALU is based solely on talent, the ALU offers grants of up to $2,000 and also runs a generous student loan program that allows students to be admitted on the basis that the ALU will receive a fixed percentage of their income over a 5 to 10 year period after they graduate. However, unlike a traditional student loan agreement, these loans will only need to be repaid if and when the student actually gets a job following graduation. The ALU project is still very much in its infancy, having only just graduated its first class of 79 students earlier this year. However, its growth and impact potential is absolutely colossal. Swaniker's long-term plan is to set up 25 more ALU campuses in various locations across Africa. In the last 3 years alone, the ALU has raised over $80 million and is currently rolling out its satellite learning centers from where it will be delivering its unique ALX programs, which are a range of 6-month courses designed for university graduates and experienced professionals interested in developing leadership and technical skills in areas such as data science and operational management. The ALX will also offer business incubation support for African startups. Ensuring that the ALX programs remain as affordable as possible, the ALX centers will deliver their training sessions in low-cost co-working spaces and look to send participants out on job placements whenever possible. With the first ALX center launched in Nairobi last year and new outposts expected in Johannesburg, Lagos, Cape Town, and Casablanca in the next couple of years, the ALU's vision is to impact not just the future generation of African leaders, but the present one as well. Standing alongside Ethiopian President Abiy Ahmed, South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, and Egyptian football sensation Mohamed Salah as one of only a handful of Africans on the Times 2019 list of the 100 most influential people in the world, Swaniker just might be set to stay on that list for the next few years, and perhaps, in the not too distant future, alongside a few graduates from the African Leadership University. Our question for you: how optimistic are you about the future generation of African leaders? Once again, it's KB Taiwo for New Africa. Please like, share, and subscribe, and until next time.